Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 296. Heard from a lot of you in the last week or two. I'm so pleased to hear you are out there shooting, enjoying what the spring has brought. It's hard to believe that we're just a little over a week away from official start of summer. Wow. But hey, you guys had some great stories. I'm really grateful that you share them with me. Also, so grateful you take a little bit of your time to stop on by. So thank you ever so much. Also need to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com. Have you guys gone to that, bedfords.com, and scroll down to the bottom of the page? Couple great things when you go down there. First, you're going to see all the events they have going. From what I'm going to be at in August and October is PhotoCon, classes, and then you scroll down beyond that, there's all this online training that's there for you for free. Now, Bedford's does so much, it's hard to cover it all in a thank you I have, but remember that when you head to bedfords.com, you give them a phone call. Hey, you mentioned little old me, that's Moose, M-O-O-S-E, you're going to save yourself 5% as well as more likely free shipping and for a lot of states, no sales tax. So thank you, bedfords.com, for supporting the Moose Podcast. I'm going to get into this week's episode. It comes from a question from Eric. Eric had a really great question. He just got himself a new Nikkor 200 to 500. Nice lens at my good friends at Bedford's. And Eric got it for one reason, aviation. Well, you can do a lot with that lens, but that's Eric's specific reason to buy that lens. And his question was really simple. He said, hey, Moose, do you do anything special or what is you? Boy, can't read my own handwriting. That's horrible, even with my glasses on. Well, basically, Eric asked, do I do something special to get ready and to prep for a weekend of aviation shooting? Hey, Eric, sorry to mess up your question, but I think I got the gist out. I think it's a great question, something I want to cover. Actually, Eric and everybody else who's listening in to our conversation, I do quite a bit of prep work before I even leave the house to go to any aviation shoot, especially a weekend shoot, which I'm assuming, Eric, means you're heading to an air show. Now remember, I do have a number of classes on Kelby 1 on shooting air shows. I'm not sure if him really talks about the prep I do, though, prior to getting there. So let's cover some of the things. One of the very first things I check out, it's the basics, is lodging. And when I look at lodging, I also am looking at the schedule for the event. I've actually got one coming up in a week, I guess it is. And it's antiques. It's not an air show per se. It's a gathering of older aircraft, no warbirds or anything like that, older than that. And some basic GA. And looking at their schedule, it shows that a lot of the aircraft will be arriving for the event on Thursday morning. That means there's an opportunity for some possibly really cool ground air shots of them arriving and then parking. So I check that out so then I can get the lodging, and I'm going to check in on Wednesday night. It's about a 5-hour drive, I believe, over to the site. So I'm going to go Wednesday night, so I'm fresh and bright-eyed and on the field Thursday morning as aircraft arrive. So that's one of the first things I'm going to check out, that schedule of events, and then plan my lodging and reserve my room. I reserved my room in March, for a June event. That way I have it. And a lot of these really popular aviation events, air shows, rooms go really early, really fast. Something to check out. Next, Eric, I'm going to look at the weather. I'm going to look at the weather for a number of reasons. The first is the temperatures. I'm sure you're all aware of the increasing heat that is blanketing a lot of North America. And personally, I'm not really thrilled working in the heat. So I check out the weather, see what it's going to be like. First, for temperatures. In this case, it's all over the map. The low over the 4 days, the lowest high temperature over the 4 days is 69. And the highest high over the 4 nines is 92. So that means I need to take a number of things. Long pants, short pants, in the evenings in the hangar, a jacket, SPF shirts, lots of sunblock, wide brim hat, ready to deal with that sun. And then in my planning, have a means to have water with me because you got to consume a lot of water. You know, you're working in the hot sun, you can get beat up really quick working on the tarmac. So that weather comes into planning not only for the clothing and sunblock stuff like that and water, but also how much am I going to get personally get beaten down? I'm going to have my portable chair with me that you'll find on the website. Most of the aircraft, everything's going to be working off a grass strip, which is very cool. It's a really another kind of flavor when it comes to photography, but it means that tarmac's not bouncing that heat back to me. So that helps me determine what bag I'm going to take to carry my gear. I have a couple of options that I use anymore with the weather, with the grass strip, with carrying water. I'll probably have my regular sling bag, my Mountain Smith sling bag that holds 3 lenses. I'll have I'll get the gear in a second, but it will take care of me and my water and everything I need for the trip, which includes carrying my chair. So I start planning some of the logistics as far as of all of that in that manner. Now I look at the aircraft and I look at the location. I actually Google the location on the map. I look at where the sun's going to come up, where it's going to go down. I look at air quality. I look at mountain ranges. And in this case, I'm looking at phase of the moon. I'm looking at where, what orientation the ramp and the runway and the parking area is to the compass. I'm going to check all of that out prior to going, as well as I talk and find out certain things from the organizer. And I'll explain why I'm doing all this in a second. I talked to the organizer of the event for a number of reasons. The first and very most important is, do I need permission to be out there on the ramp? Now, some air shows, you can buy a early bird pass, Eric, and that's a really cool thing. You get it in for most of the folks. You get in the dark, so you're on the ramp as the sun comes up. And there are some amazing photographs to be made that way. And not to be crass, but I'm here to tell you, I've made a hell of a lot of money being early on the ramp to photograph aircraft. Sunset, there's other things that be going on in the afternoon and sunset that I don't want to be stuck photographing statics. At sunrise, pilots don't get up early, so I'm not going to be missing much. So in this case, the invite came directly from the organizer, and the property owner reached out and asked if I want to be there. So I know I don't have to get permission. The other permission is not only access to the ramp, but can I use the photographs commercially? A lot of air shows, if you look on the back of the ticket, Eric, that you purchase, you're going to see a lot of times a clause or a paragraph in there that says that the photographs you're taking, the commercial rights actually belong to the event. In other words, if you go to Airshow XYZ and one of those clauses is on the back of the ticket, your admission ticket you buy to go in there, that means that if you want to use that photograph for print sales, for a calendar, for a book, you have to more than likely get written permission from the event organizer to use that photograph commercially. If you want to blog it, put it on a website, put it on Instagram, you're not getting paid for the use of that photograph, then you can use them as you want. But if you get paid for that photograph and that ticket says, you can't, you are really open the doors to possible problems. And you search the web, you'll find them. So that's the reason why I contact the event organizer to see if that kind of clause is in there, to see if in advance I can negotiate some way of having commercial rights. All that's kind of going into this general thought process that we need to talk about is gear. What gear am I going to take? Now, this particular event I'm going to here in a couple of weeks, I know that statics will be a big part of the photography. I know that ground to air will be a big part of it. And I've been told, and I take it with a grain of salt because there's a lot of variables, that there's a number of air-to-airs that people want to do with me. I take it for a grain of salt because, winds, weather, mechanical issues, there's a whole bunch of reasons why the air-to-air might not unfold. That just goes with aviation. But knowing I got the whole gamut, static, ground to air, and air to air, it helps me determine the gear that I want to bring with me. Since I'm driving to the event, I have that luxury of having basically all the gear I want to carry to the truck and back and forth with me. So I'm going to use that luxury. I'll have the 180 to 400, 70 to 200, the 24 120, the 1424, the 8 to 15, shooting both Z9s. What I'll do is one Z9 will be dedicated to the 180 to 400. The other one will be with the 24 to 200, most of the time on a strap on my shoulder. The 7200, the 1424, and the 8 to 15 will be in the sling bag along with the SB 5000 and a WR11A. And that kind of covers some of the basic gear. I will have my Really Right Stuff ground pod. On it will be the Plata Ball Elite, the Elite. That's the one with the built-in level. I also have my Plata Pod Extreme. The thinking is a couple things. Since a lot of the planes will be tail draggers, we'll have to get down low to the ground. That's why I want those accessories with me. I am hoping if I don't have a whole lot of extraneous light, I'm going to a new airfield. I don't know what kind of lights they have on this field. Haven't been able to find that out from the organizer yet. But I would like to do a time lapse at night of the stars going by all these antique aircraft or something, like timeless aviation kind of, presentation. So I'm going to have those little guys for that. I'm probably going to take an extra SB 5000 and some light modifiers, Eric, so I can do pilot portraits if they come up. And with that, the last and probably the most important part of the prep is left to be done. And that is the research. There's a number of aircraft coming. Some of them I've never seen before, other than photographs of others. So I'm doing some research for a couple reasons. If just one of the rare aircraft arrive that is scheduled to show up, and again, you have whether you have mechanical issues. There's a number of reasons why aircraft don't arrive at events. I want to make sure that I am mentally prepared. I actually will do a physical, I'll write down on paper, shot list of the aircraft. Let's just call the first one X. Aircraft X is coming. And I want to get to know that aircraft and what makes it unique. I'm going to go and find out, do the research. So then when I find those answers, I'm going to write it down on my shot list. So when I see that aircraft, I know that, it's got a unique, tail skid. It's got a unique set of struts. It's spar you can see here, or, it's got this wicker seats. I'm just going to write down these specifics because what happens, at least for me, when I'm at an event like that, And to be honest, I do this for critters too, and sometimes locations, always for portraits. When I get behind that camera and I'm with that, playing that critter, that person, whatever, my mind starts to wander. What am I, the light, things like that, ranging the elements. A lot of times I'm talking with the plane owner, and well, I'm telling you, I can't walk and chew gum, let alone remember something 2 seconds after I thought it. I mean, I walk into a room around the house, and I walk in, I kind of get this dumb look, I'm sure, and I go, what was I going to do? And I have to walk back out and figure it out. So I do my homework and I write down on a shot list those aspects of the aircraft that I want to make sure I get, the detail shots. I do all that kind of prep. I see what's unique about the vintage of the aircraft. Where was it in the lineage of the manufacturer? What unique history is about that aircraft? A lot of times I'll look to see if there was some famous pilot that might have flown in that aircraft. And then in this process, hopefully I'm coming up with an article or 2 or 3 ideas. And then in the process of figuring out I could do an article, what other photographs do I need besides the aircraft and detail shots to illustrate the entire article? I do all of that prior to ever leaving the house. And the very last thing I do is take care of the camera bodies and make sure they are prepped, ready to go. That means I'm going to clean the sensors. I clean the sensors till they're squeaky clean before I leave the house. And then when I get into my room on that night prior to the event, I'm going to check them again. But I, no matter what, I'm going to wet clean the sensors before I leave. Make sure they're set. I want to make sure the entire lens box is as dust free as I can possibly do it. Oh God, now I can't think of that. I blogged it about 10 days ago. The electric sensor blower. I'm really loving that thing. It works great for not just the sensor, but for the lens mount inside the body, and then of course the back of that lens, especially like the 7200 or the 24-120. When you zoom those lenses in and out, it can get dust trapped in there. So that, oh God, I can't think of the name of it. That's horrible. I sit there and I blow them out, and I make sure all that is 100% clean before I leave the office. So with that, batteries are charged, cards are wiped off. So the camera, if I roll up on an event, let's say I'm going in Wednesday night, and I'll talk to the event organizer, let him know when I'm coming in. If all of a sudden en route he calls up and says, "Hey, Moose, plane XYZ is coming in tonight instead of tomorrow morning. You want to be on the ramp, blah, blah, blah." I want to make sure that when I get there, I'm ready to shoot. That's the key. So, Eric, I hope that answers your question and anybody else who thought about it. And remember, there's a whole lot of other resources on the website about aviation photography. But, Eric, thanks for the question. Maybe I'll see you at one of these events. If so, I hope I can help you out. And I want to thank you folks all for dropping by. And remember to make every click your story.